everybody, Heather in New Zealand. Today I want to talk about little habits that in the long term can make big changes. Now if you're anything like me, you've probably done some work on trying to change yourself. Maybe you've got some goals you want to reach. Maybe you want to live in a different way. Maybe you want to be healthy. Maybe you want to be more organised. Maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe you want to organise the house and live at a whole different level of cleanliness. Well, I found some tricks and tweaks that we can make to how we develop our habits that can make things a whole lot easier, and also can mean that we aren't having to rely on all that willpower and hard work. So keep watching and I'll give you those tweaks in just a sec. So how can we make our life easier? How can we achieve our goals easier? Usually what we do is we have a really clear vision of what we'd like. We see ourselves, running the marathon. We see ourselves with a house that Martha Stewart would be proud of. We see ourselves, fitting into that dress size 10 or 12 or whatever it is you're wanting to get into. We see our novel published. We see ourselves having more of a social life, more friends. We have a really clear picture of what it is we'd like our life to be. So we focus on that vision. We think about, okay, what changes can I make in my life? And we go for it. This is where we come across our first hurdle. We often, in our enthusiasm, decide to make big changes because we want to get to our goal fast. And what will happen is that big change that we start to implement can be too much too fast. So we can only maintain it for a short period. But there is a way around it. We have to be patient, it might take a bit longer, but the changes are going to be much more long lasting. So how do we change our behaviour long term to get to that vision of ourselves that we've got? What do we need to know about? What do we need to take on board? Okay, let's take the example of wanting to be fit and healthy. Okay, that's a pretty good big goal. So maybe you want to be healthy enough to run 5Ks every day, touch your toes and fold yourself in half so you're nice and flexible. Maybe you want to drop a few dress sizes, lose some weight, and in general feel that you've got more energy and more enthusiasm in life. Okay, so that's a pretty big goal. I'm sure you can imagine yourselves doing that. However, thinking about it isn't going to get you there. There might be some research you need to do. There might be some reading you need to do. I mean, there's heaps of books out there that tell you how to do it. But even those aren't going to get any results unless you follow the system of taking little tiny habits and making them your own. And I'm saying tiny habits, not big habits, tiny habits. So let's think of that goal and see that picture of you being healthy and achieving your goal. Now what I want you to do is, rather than looking at that goal, I want you to break that goal down into the tiniest pieces you can, the smallest doable pieces. Now for me, when I look at this being healthy goal, I think of drinking more water. For me, that's a logical first step into becoming healthier. Okay, and it's not a huge goal, but I'm going to make it even smaller than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to set ourselves up so we don't sabotage ourselves, because often in our efforts to achieve our goals, we're our own worst enemy and we sabotage ourselves. So there's two main ways you can change your behavior long term. Okay, the first one is to change your environment. Okay, you can, that can be a bit tricky because we're not always in a situation where we can change our environment enough to make a big enough change. For example, I really don't want to sell my house and move out and live somewhere where I can't park my car, but I have to go for a 4K walk and I get fitter. That would change the environment. It would give me the goal I want, but it's not a doable action at the moment. So for the moment, let's put that changing the environment aside. there's many things in life we can't change and we don't have control over. There is one thing though that we do have control over and will get us to our goals and change our life, and that's our habits. We're 100% in charge of those. So that's what we're going to focus on. Like it or not, our habits, for better or for worse, make us who we are and make our lives what they are. And the exciting news about that is that you are in control of your habits. Okay, so how do we change our habits? How do we bring new habits on board, and how do we make them stick? Well, there's 3 things that we need to look at to be able to create a new habit. And we're talking about a new tiny habit, remember, not a great big one. So those 3 things are: 1, you've got to want to do it. There's no point putting energy into something that actually underneath it all you really don't want to do. So first of all, get clear on that it is something you want to do. The second thing is you've got to be able to do it. Now you say, hang on a second, I want to do something that I've never done before that is out of my comfort zone. And I'm saying, yes, that's where we're going. That's the big goal. I'm talking about the little habit where we're going to start. That little habit, it needs to be doable. You need to have the ability to do that little habit. Okay, and the next thing we need is a trigger that gets our system to go, okay, I'm doing that now. I'll explain that a little bit later, so keep watching. Now, the reason we're taking a tiny habit and not something bigger is a tiny habit you will stick to. The odds of you sticking to that habit and doing it regularly is so much higher than taking a big lump, a big habit, and trying to get around that. So over time, this little habit will grow and become more significant. I don't know if you've ever, we don't really get snow where I live, but if you live somewhere where there's snow and you start rolling a small snowball and you roll it and you roll it and you roll it and it gets bigger and bigger, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing with this tiny habit. So the one I've picked for getting healthy for me is drinking a glass of water, drinking more water every day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind that back even further, because remember I said you have to be able to do it? Well, I know I'd rather sit down and have a cup of tea or a glass of ginger beer with ice than I would rather a glass of clean fresh water. I mean, that's just me. I know me, and that's what I'd rather do. So if I see this great big glass of water, they go, oh, okay, you got to drink that, I'm going to go, oh, I don't want to do it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the smallest glass in the house, and here we go. This is the smallest glass in the house, okay, and I'm going to drink that. So that I want to do it because I do want to be healthier. This is making the habit as small as I can. I can't go any smaller than that in this house. And I can do that. That's doable. I have the ability to do that. Now, all I need is a trigger, because remember, that's the third thing we need, a trigger. So what I'm going to do is every time I go to the bathroom, when I'm finished, I'm going to come into the kitchen and I'm going to have a glass of water. Okay? Or I could put this in the bathroom if I wanted to, but that's probably not going to work for me. So I'm going to come into the kitchen every time I go to the bathroom and drink this glass of water. That's it. That's my one tiny habit that I'm going to use towards getting healthy. Okay, just see how that works. You see how that might snowball. After a while, this is going to become easier to drink, and I might have 2, or I might go to a bigger glass. Another thing I'm going to do, and this is kind of extra bonus, but it's a good psychological idea, is I'm going to give myself a bit of a reward. No, I'm not going to go to the cupboard and have a cookie. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little high five. High five, girl. Or I'm going to say, I am awesome. I have just drunk my water. I am totally awesome. Or maybe I might do a little happy dance. Happy dance. Go me. Yay me. I did it. Go me. Now, you're going to feel a bit silly doing this, as I just did here. But you know what? It's a positive reinforcement. It's a positive reinforcement that you're giving yourself. You're actually giving yourself a reward. You're encouraging yourself. That's going to cement that little habit, and it's more likely that you're going to keep doing it and keep getting healthier. Now, that is not the end of you reaching your goal. Obviously, if I'm wanting to run 5Ks, I'm going to have to do more than drink this water. If I'm going to want to lose weight, I'm going to have to do more than that. This is just a tiny step. So when that first tiny habit that you have becomes automatic, that you do it without thinking about it, which might take a month, 2 months, don't rush it. It's better to go a bit slower and have it really stuck in than stop before you've really got it as a mental habit in your mind. Then you can think of, okay, what's another tiny habit? Okay, and then look at your goal, whatever that is, and get another tiny habit. Again, you've got to want to do it, you've got to have the ability to do it, and you've got to come up with a trigger. Now, the example I looked at for a trigger was going to the bathroom. Now, there is reasoning behind that, because what you're doing is you're getting a new habit and you're piggybacking it onto an old habit that's already established. Okay, you're not creating something completely from scratch. You're just adding it on to another habit. So do that with your next habit that you decide to do. I'd love to hear what habits you're going to go for. Maybe you want to go for this water one with me. Maybe you're going for a different goal. Maybe you're wanting to clean up your house. If you've seen my channel before, I'm a total fan of the Flylady and her cleaning system. Again, she works off little habits. That's one of the reasons I like her so much. So if you want to check out those videos, if that's what goal you're going for, maybe it's that you're wanting to write a book. Maybe your goal is, I'm going to write for 5 minutes a day after morning tea time, or I don't know what it's going to be. But anyway, use this formula and see if you can get some tiny micro habits going in your life. Not too much at once. Don't be tempted to get 100 micro habits going. Little tiny ones that are going to stick for good, are going to get you there faster than big habits that you can't maintain. So those are my thoughts on little micro habits, and I'm going to post some more videos about this and go on a little bit of a journey. If you'd like to join me, please do subscribe and give me some of the ideas that you're thinking of starting and where you're up to. I'll check back in with you. I am going to go with this water habit because that is an area in my life where I'm not on top of things, and I would like to be. So I'll give you a progress report, and I'll would love to hear where you're up to as well. Okay, bye from New Zealand.